O mga kababayan, matapos ngang minove ni Senator Marcoleta na ipadismiss na ang isinampang impeachment case si VP Sara Duterte dyan sa Senado mga kababayan, ay mayroong isang taga One Ball University ang nagbida-bida. Kumontra si Sotto mga kababayan kay Marcoleta dahil ayon daw sa kanyang napag-aralan at may nakapagsabi daw sa kanya na pwede dang suwayin ang Korte Suprema. Kaya malakas ang loob niya mga kababayan na banggain itong si Marcoleta na isang abogado mga kababayan versus graduate sa One Ball School Bukol University. Panoorin niyo po ha.
I respectfully move that the impeachment complaint be dismissed. I
Be
so move,
dismissed.
Mr. President.
Yan, pakinggan niyo si Sotto. Pakinggan niyo.
Senator Sotto, our distinguished Minority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. If the
One ball,
distinguished
pasok.
gentleman from Tarlac favor me with a few questions, I will be gladly accepting his
Gigisahin daw niya si Marcoleta mga kababayan.
If the Senate President will allow me, after a few questions, I will make my own manifestation to that effect.
The gentleman may
Kapal na mukha.
proceed.
Manifest pa?
Senator Marcoleta, so allow it.
Yes, Mr. President.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Na ito na ang harapan.
So, listening to the privileged speech of the distinguished gentleman from Tarlac, the basis of your motion to dismiss is the Supreme Court's decision,
Ano pa pala? The last arbiter na yan eh.
which is now pending appeal by virtue of the MR or the motion for reconsideration filed
Ang motion niyo ang pending pero final ang executory na.
last Monday by the
Oh.
House of Representatives. Is it not, Your Honor?
It's not pending because it is final.
Yes, your
Subject
basis
to
for your motion to dismiss is based on the Supreme Court decision that the so-called impeachment is unconstitutional, based on their decision.
Yes, Mr. President, Your Honor. That's very, very clear and categorical.
Very clear.
Correct. The Supreme Court decision, Mr. President, although immediately executory, is not yet final.
Final
But,
eh.
appealable. Ngayon,
Mag-appeal kayo pero pwede na i-execute.
marami nagtatanong,
Ikaw lang.
naka-apila na, ba't tayo nagmamadali? May dismiss ito sa atin.
Bakit
may I
hindi?
ask the
Anong
gentleman,
gusto nyo?
What will happen if we prematurely dismiss the case?
Prematurely?
And the Supreme Court
Sana nga last week pa yan eh.
grants the MR and reverses its own decision.
The
Wala pa rin
question, Mr.
magagawa ang
President,
ano.
is speculative.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
speculative.
Well, may I have
Guni-guni, in short, mga kababayan.
speculative answer, Mr. President?
No.
We cannot speculate. We can only
Abogado
guess,
eh.
second guess.
Oh,
Because of the
abogado
basis of
versus
our
abogado.
experience As a practicing lawyer, Mr. President.
Hindi kasi
Ito pong
lawyer.
ganitong klaseng desisyon. Talaga pong wala na pong kaduda-duda na kahit po mag-file pa tayo ng motion for reconsideration.
Kawawa. Walang
We're
kapag-apag-asa.
hoping against hope. It is as if we're wishing for the moon.
Ayun!
Palagay niyo po,
Wishing for the
palagay
moon.
niyo lang po, merong isa na nag-reverse.
Kulang pa rin.
Hindi rin po ma-overturn eh. Kasi po ang kailangan po ninyo ay 8 ang mag-reverse. Sa inakala po ba ninyo, meron kayong makukuhang 8 na pumirma doon sa unanimous decision na
Wala kang makukuha dyan sa
babaliktarin
Senado.
po nila yung kanyang sarili. Kaya, napakahirap pong mag-speculate, Mr. President.
I will accept the answer of the gentleman, but I have done my research, Mr. President.
Pa-research na sa One Ball University, mga kababayan.
Reminder
Oh. Sa
The
One Ball.
reversal of the Supreme Court's own decision is not impossible.
Guni-guni.
Even in landmark cases.
Guni-guni mo
The
nang.
case of Labogal, Bilaan, Tribal Association Incorporated.
Kahit anong sasabihin mo
versus
dyan,
Victor Ramos.
final na yan, executory na.
GR number 127882, December 1st, 2004.
Paghanap ka pa ng
957-58.
iluloko mo sa sarili mo, Sotto.
So, may kasabihan po tayo.
Oh, kasabihan na
Ang
naman.
tumatakbo ng matulin.
Ay, isang One Ball isang bayag. Sumali na ito sa isang bayan, mga kababayan, isang bayag, no? Kasi one ball eh. Isa lang ang bola.
Kung matinik ay malalim. Kaya
Anong
dapat
paki namin
siguro
dyan?
pag-isipan muna natin kung tama ba na bago
Ikaw lang ang hindi nag-iisip. Ikaw lang.
magdesisyon ang Supreme Court. Basta ibasura na natin ang kaso na ito.
Talaga namang basura.
Unang-una po, Mr. President, gusto kong malaman.
So, palpalin mo nga, Marcoleta.
Mga kasong sinabi nyo, unanimous decisions po ba lahat?
Hindi. Hindi
I'm
alam.
not sure about that.
Paano Ano?
one thing I can
So,
say
palpal
is
na naman
that,
mga kababayan.
If there is a mistake, unanimous decision could become a unanimous mistake.
Yun namin.
Wala pa pong nangyaring gano'n, Mr.
Ah, wala
President.
pa.
Saka po tayo pag nananakbo. Ako po ay nakasapatos at saka sa kalsada kaya hindi po ako matitinik.
Ay, hindi.
Well, Mr. President, there's
Grabing
always a
supalpal
first
ito.
time.
Grabing supalpal.
Regardless of whether it's unanimous or not, unanimous decision does not bar an appeal or a reversal, Mr. President. That
Oh,
is
pero hindi
one
nga
thing for
nangyayaring
sure.
ganyan
Now,
Kawawa.
secondly,
Oh. Talo.
where is the
Oh.
ball, Mr.
Marcoleta,
President?
1 point.
Or meaning the impeachment case itself. Is it in the Senate or in the impeachment court? Didn't the impeachment court throw it back, remanded, returned to the House of Representatives? So what are we dismissing in the Senate kung wala sa atin ng kaso? Can we continue hearing the case and dismissing it without the impeachment case in our hands? Can we throw the ball out when the ball is not in our possession?
Eh kung ayaw mo ng dismiss, basura. Blocked. Oh. Pareho lang din yun, Sotto. Ungas ka. Naghahanap ka
siguro
ba
naman
ng
dapat
lusot?
magkaroon tayo ng tinatawag nating sense of proper sequencing of moves. Nasaan po ba yung impeachment case?
Hindi nga
Mr.
na-transmit.
President, kanina po
Hindi
sa
ka
aking
nakikinig kasi, Sotto.
statement. Ang sabi ko nga po, yung ginawa pong initial proceedings nung 19th Congress
Tubig
Senate.
daw.
Yun po ay nangyari
19th
sa
Congress.
panahon po ng 19th Congress at lahat po yun ay naisantabi lahat. Sapagkat natapos nga po ang termino ng 19th Congress on June 30, 2024. Kaya po natin sinasabi, Mr. President, na dinidismiss na po natin ngayon
Nakinig ka, Sotto. Nakinig ka.
sapagkat tayo po ang nasa lugar na sinasabihan ng Korte Suprema nung sabihin niyang ito ay immediately executory. Sino pong mag-i-execute nun? Hindi naman po i-execute yun ng House of Representatives.
Napainom ng
Maliwanag
tubig.
naman po na tayo lamang
Oh.
ang tinakdaan ng kataas-tahasang hukuman na gumawa ng paraan para isang tabi na po ang usaping ito
Si Tulpo, mga kababayan.
napagtibayan
Oh,
nila
tameme.
na
Sa
ito'y
radyo lang na ano.
unconstitutional, void ab initio, at wala na po tayong jurisdiction para dito.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Honor,
Oh,
thank you.
punto naman kay Marcoleta. 2-0, mga kababayan.
Because it is immediate and executory does not mean it is not appealable. Now, to continue, Mr. President,
Mag-appeal ka pero unanimous nga.
I hope you don't mind. I will be posing a question,
Sige.
but then I will be
Napainom ng tubig, oh.
doing a manifestation based on this question that I will be posing.
Ano kasi na swerte? May unang
So I'm
manifestation
certain
sa
that the
Marcoleta.
gentleman from Canal Rock has read the 97 pages ruling of the Supreme Court to come
97? 187?
this motion. So the question is, must we agree on the statement of the decision of the Supreme Court on page 3, page 56, as basis
Page 3, page 56.
that the one-year ban has set in? With that question, allow me to proceed with my manifestation with your permission, Mr. President.
Sige, labagin mo ang Korte Suprema.
For the benefit of our
One ball.
colleagues, my colleagues, the last paragraph of page 3 states that, quote, since the 19th Congress terminated, the 3 impeachment complaints became enacted upon, end of quote. Again, this was reiterated in page 56, second paragraph of Roman numeral 5.
Roman numeral 5.
It says, quote, the House of Representatives, however, was
Ito na yung valedictorian ng sa mga kababayan na school book.
unable to act
One
on
Ball
the
University.
first 3 impeachment complaints because of the adjournment
Ang mga enrollees doon, puro kabalbalan ang alam mga kababayan. Ito ang number 1, no?
of the 19th Congress. To continue, for constitutional purposes, the first 3 complaints were effectively dismissed. In both instances, Mr. President, the Supreme Court was referring to the February 5, 2025 adjournment. But they have, excuse me,
Parang ulol ito mga kababayan, no? May sarili ding interpretation sa interpretation ng Supreme Court. The last arbiter mga kababayan. Hindi-interpret pa niya. Ungas.
erroneously believed
Mas magaling pa ka ba?
that
Sa,
the said
Korte
adjournment
Suprema?
is the same adjournment with a sine die adjournment that ends a Congress. It is not. February 5 did not terminate
Ay,
the
nako,
19th Congress as stated in
Mahahawa
the
tayo
decision.
sa kabobohan nito, mga kababayan. Ano?
The sine die adjournment of the 19th Congress was on June 13, 2025.
Sige,
Wherein the
ipilit mo
last
pa,
session
Sotto.
day was last June 11. Mr. President, and for the information of the public,
Wow. Hindi kami
there is a
interesado.
world of difference between adjournment versus adjournment sine die.
Sino may sabi sa'yo niyan? Ang Supreme Court? Ano ka? Tumay mataas pa sa Supreme Court siya na siguro, mga kababayan, sa tingin niya.
Pag nag-adjourn tayo for the Christmas break, nag-adjourn for the Easter break, nag-adjourn for the election period, nothing dies.
Except sa mga brain cells mo.
Bills, resolutions, anything filed continues. It is never archived. Well,
Back to
Perhaps
school, yeah.
the lawyers of the ponentes did not realize that, or they were not familiar with the rules of Congress.
Nasaan si Miss
As I said,
Tapia?
this is a world of difference. Now, this is a transcendental case. Ang laking constitutional issue.
Ang laking kabobohan.
Wala man lang oral arguments, or at the very least, Now, this is a transcendental case. Ang laking constitutional issue.
Ikaw lang naman ang
Wala man
nag-issue
lang
eh.
oral arguments, or at the very least, a
Ano pala ginagawa niyo ngayon?
consultation with some members of Congress or members of,
No need.
of the bar na nakakaintindi ng rules ng Congress
Ikaw lang ang hindi nakakaintindi.
regarding the procedure. In that
Kasalanan namin kung bobo ka, Sotto. Kasalanan ng Supreme Court kung ikaw ang hindi nakakaintindi. Kasalanan mo yan.
matter alone, Mr. President, kasabihan ninyo mga lawyer, falsus omnibus. Falsus
Yung palsis na pukang tik-tik din,
unos,
mga kababayan.
falsus omnibus.
Shut up, oy, hindi ka marunong yan. One ball. Nakapag-invoke lang ng ganyang mga words, mga kababayan, parang abogado na rin siya. Patawa-tawa pa.
Mistake in one, mistake in all.
Ikaw ang mistake in everything.
In that manner, they wouldn't have decided based on their unfamiliarity with the legislative process.
Unfamiliarity. Supreme Court pa ang unfamiliar sa mga batas. Ungas.
May mali agad eh.
Mali. Unanimous nga. Ikaw lang ang nakakita ng mali. Daig mo pa ang mga
Pati
mahistrado.
ba legislative rules natin gusto nilang palitan?
Ikaw lang ang nagsabing ng palitan.
Ba yun?
Hindi.
Maybe not
At saka
everyone
yan nakalatag, hindi lang niyo sinusunod.
appreciate the importance of the legislative calendar of Congress. But us,
Importance ng mga kababayan pag inom ng vitamins nung bata ka pa para hindi ka magiging one ball kagaya nito.
it is a big deal. That's why I'm stressing this point. Concurrent joint resolution pa nga when we approve this calendar, only to be misinterpreted and
Misinterpreted daw ng Korte Suprema.
used erroneously in this case. Nag-adjourn
Diyos
daw
mio.
yung 19th Congress.
Hindi ka nakakaintindi kasi. Hindi naman yung sinasabi niyang July o something ganyan, nag-adjourn ang Congress. Nung nag-adjourn na. Bakit? Hindi pala nag-adjourn 19th Congress, nag-adjourn na.
Kaya na-archive lahat. Now, may kinopya lang, kopya, mali pa. Sabi nga,
Mali pa talaga. Hindi naman yung issue yung adjournment, mga kababayan. Ang issue doon, yung within 10 session days. Hindi inaksyonan.
nga kanina ng ating distinguished gentleman.
Ginamit pa niya.
Hilaw.
Ang sinabi ni Marcoleta.
Hilaw yung complaint. Hilaw din yung decision.
Hilaw daw ang desisyon ng
In
Korte
addition
Suprema.
to this factual error, Mr. President,
Ano ka?
it can be seen in the website of the House of Representatives that the 3 impeachment complaints were referred to the Committee on Rules and were consigned to the archives on February 6,
O bakit niya in-archive?
not
Meaning,
February 5,
dismissed na yan.
as claimed in page
Ay, ewan lang natin
78 of
ito.
the decision.
Ipilit mo pa, one ball.
Nag-housekeeping lang ang House. Kaya
housekeeping.
in-archive. Hindi to end the Congress.
Housekeeper na pala kayo ngayon.
Archiving were not the results of the ending of the 19th Congress, but because of the fact that the 4th complaint
Nag-end yung 10 session days. Kung hindi yan aaksyonan, deemed dismissed. Archive.
were already filed and transmitted to the Senate. Eh dito pa lang, Mr. President, pilit na patunayan na barred ang fourth complaint.
Pilit na pilit at Korte Suprema na nagsabi.
Kapag ayaw, may dahilan. Kapag gusto,
Ayan na,
may
artista na
paraan.
naman. Iyak. Kulang ka lang umiyak.
Now,
Sige, iyak na yan mga
to
kababayan.
continue, Mr. President, and this is very much related.
So nga,
The Supreme Court, by the way, if it is wrong, if the complaint done by the House of Representatives was wrong, we cannot correct a wrong with another wrong.
another wrong, ikaw may wrong.
The Supreme Court essentially amended the Constitution by removing the third mode of filing of impeachment complaint.
Sabi niya, wala nang mapafile na impeachment ito.
Third and speedy mode
Dahil dadaan sa due process.
was enshrined there for a reason.
Speedy
In
mode.
times that there is an urgent need to impeach a person who is influential and powerful
sige, gawin mo yan kay Bangag. Sotto.
and may use his position to evade the law. The third mode, which is the fastest way.
Na hindi dumaan
was
sa due
provided
process.
in the Constitution.
Ano kasi niswerte?
Why did they ask? Why don't
Ikaw
you
lang
ask
man
the,
gumagawa-gawa ng
the
rules
author
na yan.
of this provision in the Constitution?
Sige, pasagutin mo na si Marcoleta. Dami mong dada.
Ascuda.
Kuda.
Sarmiento.
Dami mong kuda.
So, Mr. President, continuing, if the Supreme Court is now changing the meaning of initiating, then at the very least, please apply it prospectively.
Ano kasi
However,
niswerte?
they are applying this new ruling retroactively, which is a violation of the doctrine of operative facts.
Violation na naman. Parang ano pa mga kababayan, no? Talagang as if alam niya ang batas.
Kung ganito
Ay, one
kanilang
ball.
gustuhan, at susundin natin basta-basta, apektado din dito yung nakaraang impeachment, the impeachment proceedings.
Kasalanan
In the
nila,
words
hindi
of
sila
retired, the Supreme
pumunta sa
Court
Supreme Court.
Senior Justice Antonio Carpio.
Kasalanan
I
nila.
quote, the said Supreme Court decision practically voided the impeachment proceedings against former President Joseph Estrada and former Chief Justice Renato Corona. Pag gusto talaga, may paraan.
Sige, yung mga
Pag
linyada
may-
niya,
pag
mga one
ayaw,
ball, mga
may
kababayan.
dahilan.
Gas-gas na
Pero
yan.
huwag naman sana pati sa mga ganitong bagay that will ultimately affect future impeachment and legislative rules.
Talaga, para hindi maabuso, ungas.
Proceedings.
Uy, please,
Sa
Marcoleta,
akin,
ikaw na.
I've read
Ang daming sinasabi nito
that
si
the
Sotto,
basis
no?
for the retroactive application of the new definitions because the Senate now has
Gusto
not
ba tayong gawing bobo, mga
acquired
kababayan, kagaya
jurisdiction
niya?
yet. Mr. President, ano tawag natin doon sa nag-constitute kayo as an impeachment court? Nag-robe ba
Hindi yun nag-convene.
kayo? You even sent out summons. Ano yun? June 9.
Wala nga kayong jurisdiction sabi na nga, Korte Suprema. So, invalid na yun.
The Senate President took his oath. June 10, nag-convene an impeachment court. Niremand to the House of Representatives.
Ang sabi mo pa sa interview, Raman.
Tapos yung issue of the summons to the defense. Ano po tawag doon? Hindi nag-convene?
Ang tawag doon, bobo
Baka
ka,
hindi
Sotto.
napalitaan ng Supreme Court
Pasagutin mo na si Marcoleta.
na hindi
Sige na.
nag-convene.
Pasagutin mo
Kaya
na.
sabi nila yan. So, now, just an observation. I will try to shorten this, Mr. President.
Ay,
Just an
ngayon mo pa isushorten, ang dami mo nang sinasabi.
observation, Mr. President. Well, not only myself, but several lawyers mentioned this to me, including my godson, former Senate President Aquilino Pimentel III.
Oh, isa pa yung gunggong. Talunan. Pati sa mga kababayan, congressman, natalo.
Naguluhan sila sa pagkakasulat ng desisyon.
Dahil magulo ng utak nun dati pa.
It is incoherent and some parts are off topic, sabi nila. Para bang pinagtagpi-tagpi. Basahin niyo mabuti. Uli, ang dami.
Supreme
gagaling
Court
ng mga
Justice
abogado
na muna
dito,
kayo
basahin.
bago kayo mag-anong.
It even quoted the entire Article 11 of the Constitution not only once, but twice. It seems there were two ponentes. Parang dalawa author
Marcoleta,
dito.
ikaw na please. Oh, ang
Well,
daming sinasabi
That
nito.
is there and my
One ball na to.
observations. Just an observation.
Sige na.
So, Mr.
Enough.
President, the personalities in this present impeachment case is of no moment to me. The Vice President is a friend of mine. The Vice...
Shut up. Tinalo ka nga kaya nag-iiyak ka dyan. Tinalo ito mga kababayan pinakain ng alikabok.
The former
Ngayon
president,
gusto ma-impeach mga kababayan
President
dahil gusto
Duterte,
makaganti dahil bangkarote siguro, ang daming
has
nagastos.
been my friend since 1988. Everybody knows that.
Friend,
What I'm pointing out is the danger of outright dismissing the impeachment proceeding
may time na nakapagtina mga kababayan no, sa kanyang bigote pero sa buhok hindi. Puti na rin yung bigote niya
by virtue of a decision that is not yet final and still pending appeal. Justice Leoded himself said, Mr. President, I quote,
Sige,
"The
kulong mo
Supreme
si
Court is
Leonel
not
kung gusto
perfect.
mo.
Citizens and academics certainly have the right to call attention
Lalo ka na, hindi ka perfect. Reject ka.
to the fallibility of the courts." Tama po yun. There is no perfect institution. Even Supreme Court ka, pwede mag-commit ng grave abuse of discretion.
Oo, ang ano. How about yung Congress? Dapat nga mga kababayan kakasuhan dahil grave abuse itong ginagawa nila na kongresista. Gumamit pa ng pera billions and billions of pesos.
Or culpable violation of the Constitution.
Anong meaning na culpable?
A case
Di mo maalam?
decided unanimously does not mean that it is infallible. For all we know,
Ewan na natin kung
it is
naiintindihan niya yung
unanimous
pinagsasabi niya.
mistake. That again can be corrected by setting aside and reversing prior pronouncements.
Mabuti pa yun, makokorek
Again,
pa.
they have
Ikaw,
filed. The HRP has the Office of the Solicitor General has filed the MR last Monday. So, in this regard, we shall wait for the resolution of the MR. Please, let us allow
no.
and give chance to the Supreme Court to
No.
rectify its decision, which
Ano kasi
contains
niswerte?
clear and blatant errors.
Blatant
For
error.
their sake and for the sake of
For the sake of your idiotness.
future proceedings, let us not
Di lang justify
dismiss
pagkabobo nito,
forthwith.
no? Sariling kabobohan.
And in
Nandadamay
that
pa.
light, considering the motion of the gentleman to motion to dismiss, I move to table the motion to dismiss. A
Table?
motion to table has a higher precedence than a motion to dismiss.
Wow!
Thank you, Mr. President.
Ano kasi niswerte?
Mr. President, may I have a quick reaction to the manifestation of
sige.
the gentleman?
The
Pasagutin mo.
gentleman may do so if he so desires.
Mr. President,
Eto na.
in the answer of the Solicitor General in behalf of the House of Representatives, there was already a categorical admission that the three initial complaints prior to the fourth one were dismissed because they were all archived. As I have said, archiving is not part of the rules of impeachment of the House of Representatives, but they just did it.
They just
Palusot
did it.
lamang po yun,
Palusot.
Mr. President. Paano mo i-archive nang hindi mo susundin yung tatlong steps na sinasabi ng sarili nilang tuntunin? These are not baby steps. These are constitutional steps. At kanina po ipinakita yung slides na yung inclusion in the 10th session day is constitutional. The referral to an appropriate committee is constitutional. There was no referral to any committee.
No
Ang ginawa po
referral.
nila, tinransmit nila sa Senate without requiring themselves to observe another provision of their own rules. This is to refer to the Justice Committee, where the Vice President might probably be given at least a modicum of right to
Right.
defend themselves.
Wala, hindi nangyari, mga kababayan.
Wala po eh.
Walang due
Inakala
process.
po nila na kapag may 1/3 na or more, ay pwede na nilang huwag gamitin yung Section 2 ng kanilang rules. Hindi po nakalagay yun eh. So hindi na
Mga
po,
mga ungas,
hindi na po kailangan na i-distingue pa natin yung adjournment and sine adjournment. Kasi inadmit na rin po na in-archive nila kahit na wala po sa tuntunin. Kanina sa manifestation, tinanong din po, kung wala tayong jurisdiction, paano yung unang initial proceedings? Pwede po yung initial proceedings ninyo will be considered under the doctrine of operative fact. Hindi pa po na-declare na wala pang jurisdiction ang Senate at that time. Ngayon lang po nangyari.
Ngayon
Kaya
lang
po yung
nangyari.
ginawa ng Senate of the 19th Congress, tama pa rin po eh. Wala pa pong declaration noon. Kaya lang, ang kagaya po ng aking clarification na sinabi, all these initial proceedings conducted in the Senate of the 19th Congress were not officially transmitted
We're not
to
officially
the 20th Congress, where I myself belong, a Congress of different composition. So yun po ngayon, naharap tayo ngayon sa issue na talagang tayo lamang po ang gagawa because there is no other agency of government that will execute that decision of the Supreme Court. Only the Senate.
Kaya nga.
So may I go back to the first question? to the original motion, Mr. President.
Hindi naiintindihan ni Sotto eh.
Mr. President, if I may.
Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the indulgence of my colleagues, Mr. President, our Senate Minority Leader, Senator Sotto, and first movant of the motion, Mr. President, Senator Marcoleta, may I respectfully appeal, Mr. President, of our and remind, Mr. President, our colleagues of
Pagbotohan nyo na.
our
Pagbotohan nyo na.
concurrence during our caucus held last week that we will debate on this and talk about this and discuss this matter, Mr. President. But if the minority leader would continue to insist his motion, Mr. President, we have no other choice but to
Vote!
dispose with the motion of the minority leader, considering that it takes precedence, Mr. President, with the motion of
Pagbotohan nyo na.
Senator Marcoleta.
It is the understanding of the chair that
Ida
during our
jumbling nila yun eh.
all-member caucus, which the chair announced in plenary, that it was agreed unanimously by all the members that we will be discussing, debating, and acting on the Supreme Court decision on a date certain. And this was the date certain
Oh.
that was agreed upon
Ngayon na, di ba, cheese?
in caucus.
Saan kayo nakila yung cheese?
Maybe here from the distinguished minority floor leader, if there has been a change in that position given on that date when we had an all-member caucus.
Mr. President, as a matter of fact, concur with what you said. But
Kaka!
during that
Bat-bat
time,
ka
when we
pa.
discussed it, there was no MR file. There was no motion for reconsideration filed by the House of Representatives or the Solicitor General. So it becomes a different, it develops into a different scenario.
Sana nga
Now
Monday pa
that
yung
there is a
ginawa
motion
para
for reconsideration. Because again, my question
Di na
was
sila
not
nakapag-MR.
clearly answered when I said, what happens if we
Kunaibans with tambalos-los mga
move
kababayan.
to
ano?
dismiss? As,
magbotohan na.
As a Senate or as impeachment court? I think that is one of the questions
As a
that is going
Senate,
to be posed
dahil
by
wala
another
nga
member
impeachment
of the
court na
Senate, and
nangyari.
we wish that you could recognize them to continue debate on this matter before we decide. But again, my answer is that there was no motion for reconsideration when we agreed to decide on August 6 on
ngayon
the motion
baliktad
to
ka.
dismiss.
Honor your
That's
word,
why
idiot.
my motion is not against the motion to dismiss, Mr. President. It is merely a motion to table the motion
Table.
to dismiss, which you may be able to take up on the floor even tonight or
On the
tomorrow.
floor.
A motion to
Ngayon
table
na.
is alive always in parliamentary rules, and you may take it up anytime. Then we can
Wala
take
na,
up the
dismiss
motion
na yan.
to dismiss after that, Mr. President. Thank you.
Boo!
We note the
Alis,
intent
layas.
of the distinguished minority floor leader, but the
Ungas.
chair would therefore
Idiot! Bye-bye! Oh, ano masasabi niyo dito mga kababayan? Post ka mas magaw.